We're ready to go.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the October 13th, 2021 full board meeting of Manhattan Community Board 6. My name is Kyle Athide, and I am the chair of CB6. This meeting is being called to order at 7:03 p.m. Tonight, we're joined by Secretary Seema Shaw, District Manager Jesus Perez, Assistant District Manager Brendan Berth, and Community Associate Alexander Crawford. In order to conduct an efficient meeting, let's observe a few ground rules tonight. First, no one may speak until granted the floor. CB6 members, if you have a question about board business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand through Zoom. Next, the chat function should not be used for CB6 business or questions about agenda items. All such remarks should be made on the record by raising your hand through Zoom. Chat should only be used to alert us to any technical difficulties you're having or to state in writing information such as an email address that was already stated aloud on the record during the meeting. When a member is given the floor to speak, I, as the chair, will identify you and you can unmute yourself so that you can speak. We are required by New York State law to have a transcript of this meeting, so please keep all questions and comments succinct and germane to the discussion. And last but not least, to the members of the public, if you wish to give remarks during the public session tonight and have not already registered by filling out the form on the CB6 website ahead of time, you can register to speak in the public session by using the Q&A feature of Zoom and posting your name, affiliation, and the specific topic you wish to speak about. This needs to be done by 7:15 p.m. So the agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office, was posted online, and appears on the screen before you. If there is no objection, we will adopt the agenda as stated. So board members, please review the agenda, and if you object to adopting the agenda, you may raise your hand through Zoom. All right, seeing no objection, the agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. The secretary will now take attendance by roll call.
Hi, good evening. If you don't mind, just please verbally share that you are present so that I can mark you down. That would be great. Kyle Atide.
Present.
Asia Badi. Asia. Neil Barclay.
Here.
Martin Barrett. Martin Barrett. Elvie Barroso.
Present.
Matt Bondi.
Here.
Claire Brennan.
Here.
Jim Collins.
Here.
Stuart Desser.
Present.
Michael Devereaux.
Present.
Dan Devine.
Present.
Beatrice Dismon.
Present.
Jeannie D'Onofrio.
Present.
Rick Eggers.
Present.
Charles Fernandez.
Present.
Eric Goldberg.
Present.
Eric, are you here? Oh, I think I see you.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yes, I'm here, present.
Thanks. Andrew Gross.
Present.
Adam Hartke. Molly Hollister.
Here.
Paige Judge.
Present.
John Keller.
Present.
Abigail Cruzmark.
Present.
Sandra Leftoff.
Here.
Anton Malner.
Here.
Kavita Matthew.
Here.
Sandra McKee.
Here.
Wells Magali.
Present.
Richard Mintz. Rich, are you here? Don't hear you. Philip Napolitano.
Present.
Rajesh Nair. Raj, Kevin O'Keefe,
Present.
Stephen O,
Present.
Reshma Patel,
Present.
Matt Roberts,
Present.
Jean Santoro,
Here.
Lawrence Shayer,
Here.
Ann Seligman. Ann,
Here.
Lou Sapersky,
Yo.
Sean Sherman,
Here.
Sandra Sherrod, Sandra, Letty Simon,
Here.
Susan Steinberg,
Here.
Anju Suresh, Anju, Mark Thompson,
Here.
Corinne Vanderdonk,
Here.
Brian Van Nieuwenhoven,
Present.
Mara Wong, Maura Wong here, Ronnie White,
Here.
Claude Winfield.
Present.
Great, we are at quorum.
Seema, this is
I'm
Sandro.
here too.
Yeah, Seema, we have Asia and Sandro.
Sorry about that. I had a mic problem.
Okay, great, I got you both, thanks.
All right, thank you. Okay. I've asked all of our elected officials to send over the reports ahead of time so that we can compile them. You can find all of the reports that were submitted on the CB6 website, and the link to the reports was disseminated ahead of time to all board members and the general public, and now for your convenience can be found in the chat below. I will now call on each of the elected officials who have RSVP'd so that they can take questions from CB6 members and the public about their pre-submitted reports. Each elected official will have 1 minute to field questions. If there are no questions, we will move on to the next elected official on the list. If an elected official has a time-sensitive matter to report on that didn't make it into their pre-submitted report, they will have 3 minutes to do so. During this part of the meeting, we will also hear from government agency representatives who have requested to address the board tonight. So first up, we have the Borough President's Office. Brian, will you be representing the office today?
Gail will be joining later.
Okay, so we'll move on and wait for Gail to come in. Thank you. Next up, we have Pat from Councilmember Power's office. Thank you for joining us today, Pat.
Thank you for having me. Similar to Brian, Councilmember Powers should be joining us shortly. Just trying to see having any technical issues.
Perfect, will do. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have Breeze from Assemblymember Epstein's office. Are there any?
Hi, actually, that's Assemblymember Godfrey's office. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. This morning,
Bruce will take you if you want, though. If you want to leave, Dick, come on over anytime, you know?
Sooner or later, I will work for every elected official. Assemblymember Godfrey appeared on New York One this morning with Mayor de Blasio in support of the mandates for COVID-19 vaccinations for workers in healthcare and other industries. It's something he is supporting strongly. In addition, he's testified in favor of congestion pricing very strongly. In fact, he urged the MTA to speed up implementation. He was very pleased at the selection of the new state health commissioner, Mary Bassett, who should be a familiar figure to New York City residents since she was a very, very able health commissioner here in the city. I think I'll just stop there. But those are the real highlights. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Breeze, and apologies for that. Are there any questions for Assemblymember Godfrey's office? All right, seeing none. Thank you very much, Breeze. Next, we'll move on to Assemblymember Epstein. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Kyle, and thanks for having us here. I think what, Bruce said about Assemblymember Godfrey really applies to us as well. We testified congestion pricing, want to move that forward. Big issue for me is ensuring that we have protection for our local residents. We had a hearing today on the accessory dwelling unit legislation. We had a great turnout in the assembly today, and we're looking forward to making sure we can figure out a pathway to legalize accessory apartments, which will be potentially hundreds of thousands of affordable apartments across New York State. Joanna's here and she's got my report, and I'm happy to kind of take questions that people have on the issues that we just raised or ongoing concerns that people have in the community. Our report really speaks for itself on things that we've been involved in.
Perfect. Thank you. Are there any questions for Assemblymember Epstein? And again, Joanna included her information in the chat. So if anyone has any specific questions or concerns, feel free to reach out to their office there. But yep, not seeing any questions. Thank you very much, Assemblymember.
Bye, everyone. Have a good night.
Next up, we have Councilmember Kalos's office. Wilfredo, will the council member be joining us, or will you answering questions on his behalf?
He won't be joining us tonight, but I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone on the board may have.
Awesome, thank you. Are there any questions for Councilmember Kalos's office? All right, seeing none. And Wilfredo, if you could put your contact information in the chat.
Yep.
If anyone needs to reach out, that'd be great. Thank you. Next up, we have Councilmember Rivera's office, Pedro. Will the council member be joining us tonight, or will you be speaking on her behalf?
I will be speaking on her behalf, and I'm coming to you live from a wonderful CB6 open restaurant situation. Thank you all for having me. Two really quick things that may be in the report. 1:30 on the 15th, we will be at Epiphany Library doing one of our mobile office hours from 1:30 to 3:30. And then Stuyvesant Square Park will be having a dog costume parade on October 24th from 1 to 3. But I'm really here taking the wonderful Katie Loeb's place to announce, since you guys are my OG colleagues, that after 4 wonderful years at the councilwoman's office, due to a wonderful life-changing job opportunity for my wife, I will be relocating to Washington, D.C. for the time being, and wanted to let you all know that first before I started telling everybody, and wanted to thank you always for being great partners in all of the things that we try to do here in District 2. And that I will certainly miss you all, and that I love that I am announcing this on a night where you are going to be reviewing budget requests, since that was my old stomping grounds as chair of the budget committee. So thank you, everybody. Just wanted to let you know that you have a great partner in obviously the councilwoman, but certainly in Katie. And thank you for your service and your friendship always.
Thank you so much, Pedro. Congratulations to Tiffany and yourself and the rest of your family. And this is full circle for me as well, because the first meeting I ever attended as a person from the public at a community board meeting was your first meeting as the chair of the budget committee. And that's what got me hooked on community board. So thank you so much for all of the service that you've always done on the community board and for the district. And we look forward to seeing the national contribution you and your family will be making. So thank you so much for everything.
Thank you, Kyle. And I remember that meeting very well.
Yeah, the old office. Are there any questions for Councilmember Rivera's office? All right, enjoy your dinner, Pedro. Thank you so much.
I have a quick question, actually.
Yeah.
Pedro,
Yeah.
did you say who's taking your place? Not that anyone can take your place, but who will be chief of staff?
Oh, wow. Nobody right now. We're keeping things as is, and we will make an announcement, I'm sure, soon.
Okay. We'll miss seeing you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Asia.
Another member of the Beard Club leaves CB6.
An original, by the way.
Yeah. All right, so seeing no further questions for Councilmember Rivera's office, thank you so much, Pedro, and enjoy the rest of your dining.
Thank you all.
Moving on, do we have Lingjun from District Attorney Vance's office?
Hi, good evening.
Hey.
Just one update that is not on my report. I want to share with you our incoming Art of Healing event in Lower East Side. It is an event for young people to create arts to heal and express themselves from trauma of crimes. We will provide food, music, dance performance, and mural painting. The event will be on Hester Street between Ludlow and Essex Street near Seward Park on October 30th between 12 to 4 p.m. It will focus on hate crimes against the AAPI community. So we put it in Chinatown and Lower East Side area. I will share the information in the chat too. Please let me know if any elected officials would like to attend or speak in our event. Thank you.
Thank you, Lingjun. Are there any questions for District Attorney Vance's office? All right, seeing none, thank you so much, Lingjun.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Artie from Senator Kruger's office. Is
Actually, Artie asked if we could call on him last.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to Philip Ellison from Public Advocate Williams' office. Is Philip with us tonight? All right, I'm not seeing him, so we'll circle back. But before we move on to some of the agencies, is Council Member Powers here yet?
So I believe he's actually having some computer issues and is not going to be able to join the meeting. From what he's told me the issue is, I believe it's a connection related issue and he has to have someone come take a look at it. But
Okay, we can actually give him a couple more minutes. There's still some people on the list, so if he ends up figuring it out, we can circle back to him.
If not, I can always go in his stead, and if anyone has any questions, I don't mind taking them.
Okay, we'll circle back. Thank you, Pat. We'll move on to Assemblymember Court's office. Alex, you here?
Hi, everyone. Alex here from Assemblymember Dan Court's office, filling in for the Assemblymember and for Rebecca. I don't have anything to add to our report, but I'm happy to take any questions.
All right, are there any questions for Assemblymember Court's office? All right, seeing none. You have an easy night, Alex, filling in. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks, guys.
I see we have Councilmember Kalos with us. Jesus, could you make him a panelist, please?
All right, there he.
All right, Councilmember Kalos, are you here?
I am, thank you. Did anyone talk about the elections in November?
We have not.
There are indeed elections this November. Early voting starts October 23rd. You can already request your absentee ballot. You must request it in 5 days. You can do it at nycabsentee.com. In addition to the mayor, which is actually on the ballot, there's city council seats on the ballot, as well as 5 questions. If this community board is interested in having an information session or what have you, the first question is redistricting. The second one is, should people have a right to clean air and water? Should you have to register to vote 10 days ahead of an election? Number 4 is, should you be allowed to vote absentee without a pandemic and without an excuse? And the last one is about the civil court jurisdiction, which I will actually leave to Senator Brad Hoylman's office to explain, because he is the chair of the judiciary. We've been dealing a lot with a land use item relating to whether we should build 300-foot towers in residential neighborhoods on 70-foot height caps across the street from playgrounds. We've heard legislation around making every illegal short-term rental register with the city. We've talked a little bit about allowing all the flex walls you see everywhere in the neighborhood, if you've ever been on Street Easy, whether or not to make those regulated and legal. And if you heard 1010 Wins today talking about whether or not internet should come with your apartment, just like heat, hot water, electricity. And has anyone noticed when you move into an apartment, it has a phone jack? Has anyone here used a phone jack in the past 5 years? So that's it. That's it. Any other question? Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Council Member. Are there any questions for Council Member Kalis's office? We also had Wilfredo speak a little bit earlier as well.
Thank you.
All right. Seeing no questions for you, Council Member, thank you so much. All right, moving on, we have Taylor from Representative Maloney's office.
Hi, so I didn't see our report uploaded, so I'm going to throw the link to just our newsletters page in the chat. But the highlights from that were just that the Congresswoman had a bunch of oversight hearings the past month on our FEMA's IDA response, on the Texas abortion issue, on the Cyber Ninja Arizona audit, and among other things that you can all find there. She also visited Rikers this week with Reps Ocasio-Cortez and Richie Torres. And we will be having mobile casework hours in CB6 on October 30th at Dag Hammarskjöld from 12 to 1. I'll send more info when it gets closer to make it easier for folks not to have to remember 2 weeks in advance.
All right, thank you so much, Taylor. Are there any questions for Representative Maloney's office? All right, seeing none, thank you so much, Taylor. And thank you for including the link in the chat. All right, moving on. Is Philip Ellison here from Public Advocates Williams' office yet? Okay, not seeing it. So we'll move on to Zandra from ACS. Zandra here? All right, not seeing Zandra here. We'll move on to Bobby from Parks and Recreation.
Good evening, everyone. Just wanted to make a couple of updates and announcements, and then if there's any questions, I can definitely answer them. Regarding our pool at the Constance Baker Motley Recreation Center, it still remains closed due to emergency repairs needed to address the netting that's currently in place above the pool. While I don't have a timeline of when we can expect to open, we do expect a work order to be issued for that soon for the work to begin on that. Meanwhile, the Astor Levy pool is open from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. And they do have Saturday hours, I believe 9 to 2. Also on Saturday, October 30th, from 1 to 3, the Constance Baker Motley Recreation Center is going to be hosting a Halloween event with an escape room theme. We're calling it the Spooktacular Escape. And participants are going to have to unlock doors in the room by answering some riddles. And then when you unlock the last door, you'll get a little pumpkin as a surprise, which you can also go to our activity section for families and they can decorate that pumpkin. And we're also going to have a scarecrow making workshop as well. You do need to RSVP for that in advance. I'll leave my email in the chat. So everyone that's interested can just send me an email. And again, our centers are open. You can stop by, take a tour. We have programming for all ages, and we have something for everybody. So if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
All right, I see a question from Eric Goldberg. Eric, go ahead.
Thanks, Kyle. I was just curious when you mentioned the rec centers, if there's a timeline for when they'll return to full operating hours that were in place prior to COVID?
So those are in discussion right now. A lot of it has to do with low staffing rates. So each center is submitting their own recommendation, at least with us. I'm trying to get us open as early as 7, 8 a.m. I don't know if anything's going to happen in the next couple of months, I think the agency is looking to September for possible expansion of hours. But we do all want to expand those hours because we know opening up at 10 a.m., we disservice a lot of the early crowd before the work. So we are aware of that, and we are working on trying to come to a resolution for that.
Thank you.
Great, thank you for the question, Eric, and thank you, Bobby. Are there any further questions for Parks Recreation? All right, seeing none, thank you so much, Bobby. And please, if you haven't already, please send us the information for the event. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Awesome. Yeah, I think I sent it over to you guys.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we'll go to Pat from Council Member Power's office.
Yeah, my apologies. We had thought that the council member was going to be able to join us, but he unfortunately cannot because of technical difficulties. But I can take any questions that anyone might have on our report.
All right. Yep. Are there any questions for Council Member Power's office? All right. Seeing none. If you could just put your contact information in the chat, Pat, in case anyone has any specific questions for you after. Next up, we'll move to Senator Hoylman's office. Sam, will you be speaking on behalf of the senator today?
Yes, Kyle. Hi, everybody. Sam from Senator Hoylman's office. I can put my contact information in the chat, and I hope you've had a chance to read our report. We have some good events coming up, and the details are in the report, including a flu shot event, if you haven't gotten your flu shot already, and a mammogram event later in the month. So those are coming up soon for the community. And we also have updates on all of our office activity, including new legislation and events we've been holding. So let me know if you have any questions.
Awesome, thank you. Are there any questions for Senator Hoylman's office? All right, seeing none, thank you so much, Sam.
Of course, thank you, Kyle.
All right, we'll now move on to Artie from Senator Kruger's office. So Artie,
hello.
Hey,
yep, I'm here. Hello, everyone. I just wanted to flag an event we're having next week, which is a senior research fair. That's going to be over 3 days, October 19th, 20th, and 21st. That's Tuesday through Thursday. Each one will be at 2 to 3:30, and they're on different topics. You can hear from experts on the first day, exercise and nutrition. The second day will be all about pets. And the third day will be about arts, continuing education, and technology. I also wanted to make sure everyone knew that our senior resource guide, which we have heard is very helpful, our new edition is currently in the works. If you'd like to request a copy, you can email us or call us. The contact information is in the report, but I will also put my email in the chat. And then I also wanted to flag that today Senator Kruger was at Baruch College with other elected officials and representatives from New York City to celebrate the opening of the Klivner Field Plaza, which is going to be a beautiful plaza that's going to add much more public space to CB6, which has very little, one of the lowest in the city. And finally, last week we did a Know Before You Vote event about the 5 constitutional amendments that will be on the ballot this November. And there were some experts and advocates there just explaining what the ballot initiatives, what the amendments are about, and just giving some more information. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to email me, which I'll put in the chat, and reach out to our office. And I do see one question.
Mm-hmm. Yep, Marty, go ahead. Oh, this is not, okay. Yes, cool. Not a question. All right. Are there any questions for Senator Kruger's office? All right. Seeing none.
Thank you, everybody.
Appreciate it, Artie. Thank you. And just before we conclude, is Philip from the Public Advocate's office here? All right, so we'll move on. Jesus, has anyone signed up to speak in the public session?
Sorry about that. No one has signed up for the public session. However, we do have one, Michael Stinson from the Comptroller's office.
Yep, we'll go to Michael Stinson.
Sorry for being late. Still getting home from the office, but I just wanted to let everybody know this will be my last week with Comptroller Stringer's office. My last day is Friday. I'll send out an email, but I didn't want to just send CB6 an email because I wanted to let you know that this board has been one of my favorite boards to work with over the nearly 5 years I've been with Comptroller Stringer, and just the leadership of Community Board 6 over the years has been, they've always been so great to me. It was Kyle, Molly, Claude, Rick, Asia, Mark Thompson. Like, it's everybody there in that board, I feel like, is in it for the right reason. You're trying to do best for your community. And you've always been super helpful to me in the Comptroller's office, and especially to Scott. And I'll never forget it. And I'm not going far away. I'll still be working in the city, so I'll probably still talk to many of you. But I just wanted to thank you all again for treating me like family for CB6, and I'll never forget it. And again, thank you a million times for the experience you've given me over the years.
Thank you so much, Michael. We want to thank you for your service to not just the city, but to our district. You've had to explain a lot of very complicated ideas and things going on to us, which we very much appreciate, and also your partnership with everything. And you are part of the family, and so are your kids who have joined us on community board meetings, so we will miss that as well. But again, thank you so much, and we wish you best wishes in the next chapter of your life, which we undoubtedly know will be very impressive. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jim, do you have a question for Michael? Jim, you're on mute. Jim, you're still on mute.
Michael, thank you first for your service to the city of New York, and we're sorry to see you go. I'm wondering if perhaps you could pass on a suggestion to the controller, seeing that he is term limited and will be leaving office shortly. As you know, New York State recently reduced the discount rate assumed on statewide pensions to just 5.8% or 5.9, I forget. But anyway, it's 110 basis points below the rate that the city uses. If the controller were to do that, to reduce that rate prior to his departure, he would make it far easier for his successor to manage a realistic return on city pension assets. We wouldn't have to go trying to chase a 7% compounded annual growth rate by investing in things like the firm in China that just recently went under, or is on the verge of going under. And I'm just suggesting that as an act of public service, kind of while he has one foot out the door and another foot on a banana peel. If he could just please consider that, at least matching the state compounded annual growth rate assumed for the 5 public pensions. It's a great act of public service.
Yeah, I'll definitely raise it. I'm not going to make any promises on behalf of our office that we can commit to, but I'll definitely raise with people in charge of that. Thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you for raising it, and thank you again for your service.
Of course.
Thank you, Jim. Are there any other questions for the Comptroller's office? I see a hand in the public. Is this a question for the Comptroller's office? Do we know?
No, it's not.
Okay. What is your hand up for then?
So I have the floor now. Can I talk like a couple of minutes? 3 minutes?
So right now we're doing the question and answer, but if you're a member of the public, you had to submit your topic by 7:15.
I submitted by email.
Jesus, did they submit?
Yeah, today. My name is Antoine Ronin.
They wrote into the office and we provided them with the link to sign up to speak at full board. They did not fill out the form, nor did they.
So Antoine, we'll return to you. I just want to finish up with the speaker that we have right now. So are there any other questions for the Comptroller's office? All right, seeing none, thank you so much, Michael. And again, congratulations on this next chapter in your life. All right, so we'll move to the public session. I will just state another reminder for everyone. Please, you must follow the process. You must fill out the form ahead of time. Or if you're attending the meeting, you must submit your request to speak during the public session by 7:15. But you did say you emailed, which was confirmed by district manager. So I'll give you the floor right now. You have 3 minutes to speak on your topic. Please introduce yourself, your affiliation to the district, and the topic you wish to speak on.
Okay, so my name is Antoine Ronin. I live in CB6. Don't have any affiliation, and I wanted to talk about some a bad racist incident who happened like a week or 2 weeks ago in the St. Barton Park. So I would like to have some help to organize something. So typically what happened, basically, a black kid had a fight for a ball with a non-black kid. That happens every day, every minute, I would say, in the park. And then after that, maybe 10 kids, non-black, call him monkey. All of them a couple of times, like it lasts maybe a minute. It's terrible, right? So the black kid was crying. I hope he will be able to be back in St. Barton playground. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. And even more, I would say, I hope he will be able to be back in the playground in his life. He's 12-year-old, the other kids were about 8-year-old. So what I wanted to do is to see how can we organize an event in the park. I don't want to do that by myself. First of all, I don't want to fund it. It could cost money and then time. I wanted to see who could help me to organize that. So it could be something like nice. We don't have to punish the kid. We don't have to lecture them, but just organizing like maybe a movie projection like we had a couple of months ago when the weather was fine, or like workshop or book, whatever. So any suggestion is good. Any help is really very much appreciated. I don't hear you.
Thank you, Antoine. Sorry, I was muted. I just sent you my email. Please reach out to me. We will be able to speak on this as our board has always stood on this. This is absolutely unacceptable to see anything discriminatory or hateful. We will follow up on this, and we would love to collaborate on anti-hate, anti-discriminatory work. So please do email me and we'll follow up on that.
Thanks a lot. Have a good evening.
Yes. And I sent you my email. It's in the chat. Kevin, do you have a comment to that as the chair of environments and parks?
Well, also because I've been having ongoing discussions with Antoine, including a Zoom call that I had with him today and Alexander Crawford. As Antoine knows, we've been very engaged on this. We are disgusted as well of these allegations. We have Partnership for Parts outreach. I've been in touch, as Antoine well knows, because he's been on the loop and responded to each email, to the Parents and Teachers Association at PS 116. They are engaged with some ideas. So we have been on this, and he has my contact information, Alexandra's. He has Erica Wolf, who is the community engagement officer for the PTA of PS 116. We're on this.
Perfect. Thank you. Jim, do you have a quick response to this?
Yeah, Antoine, if you want to reach out to me through the board office, I'd be happy, especially if the child is in this neighborhood. I'd be happy to introduce him and have him come into the Boy Scouts. He's 12 years old, you said? He can have his own posse going to the park.
Awesome. All right, yeah, and anyone else who's interested in this work, please send me an email and I'll gather everybody in the appropriate way at the appropriate time. Thank you. All right, Jesus, are there any other members of the public who reached out or would like to speak?
No one has reached out.
Okay, so move to the adoption of the previous meeting's full board minutes. The minutes from the September 14th full board meeting were distributed to board members ahead of time by the board office. If there is no objection, we will adopt the minutes from that meeting. Board members, if you object to adopting the minutes, you may raise your hand through Zoom. Seeing no objections, the minutes from the September 14th full board meeting are adopted and they will soon be available on the CB6 website. So now I'll deliver the chair's report. So just some quick housekeeping items. As we all know, Adam stepped down from his role as the chair of the Land Use Committee last month. Again, I want to thank Adam for his wonderful service as the chair. To fill his leadership role, I've asked a favor of Sandy, who had just stepped down as transportation chair. And I'm sure she was looking forward to relaxing and not being taken over by the responsibilities of chair, but she has graciously accepted being chair of the Land Use Committee. So I want to congratulate Sandy. To serve as vice chairs, I've asked Kavitha Matthew and Wells Magali to serve as co-vice chairs of this committee as well. And with that, in discussion with these committee leaders, we have decided to put the Strategic Community Planning Committee back into land use. It will be a standing item, and we'll continue to monitor the issues at MSBI. And as that develops, we'll see if a separate committee needs to be created at that time. But for now, given the developments, it makes sense to put it under land use. So we will put that back within that committee. Some other housekeeping items. I also want to announce that I've appointed Abby Chrismark as the vice chair of the Housing and Homeless Committee. I've also appointed Anju Suresh as vice chair of the Health and Human Services Committee. And Seema Shah will be appointed as the vice chair of the Public Safety Committee after today. So I want to congratulate all of those individuals on their leadership roles, and I look forward to their continued contributions in these roles. So congratulations again. Furthermore, as we have heard and have been aware of, St. Barton Park has been opened. The formerly private garden is now a public garden. As the chair of this board, it has always been a priority of mine to take actionable steps to bring green spaces back to our community. We have done that. And so I want to give a special thanks to our Environment and Parks Chair, Kevin O'Keefe, for his crucial leadership in achieving the impossible. They said it couldn't be done, but it has been done. It has been over 20 years since this particular area of green space was closed off to the public, and it has been returned. And we've already seen such community use from it, which has been really wonderful. And with that, must also send thanks to Vice Chair Jeannie D'Onofrio, as well as the Environment and Parks Committee. And I'm sure we'll hear a little bit more on the update during the committee report today. And that's all I have. So thank you, everybody. And I'll turn it over to District Manager Jesus Perez.
Thank you, Kyle. We've got a lot to get to today, so I'll waive my report and so we can get on.
Awesome. Thank you. Next, we'll move on to the Treasurer's report.
Good evening, everyone. I should have video on. OMB's budget summary report for our board from October 1st shows that our personal services budget for the year is $237,033, and we have a balance of $186,679 with $50,353 spent or obligated. Our current budget for other than personal services, excluding our rent, is $152,440. This figure contains $110,185 of our retained street fair money, and our remaining OTPS budget is $42,255. We have a balance of $40,774 with $1,481 spent or obligated. Those are the same numbers from last month. And just to put a side note in here, that I haven't heard anything about the street fairs that were held this year, for which we should be getting some amount, but I wouldn't count on it being material to our finances. Finally, we have a rent budget of $163,642, and like the prior fiscal year, it has already been used to pay our rent obligations for the remainder of this fiscal year. Does anyone have any questions?
Not seeing any.
All right, thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you so much. We'll now move on to the Borough President's report. Brian Lafferty, Is the borough president with us, or will she be joining us later, or will you be speaking on her behalf?
Apologies. The borough president will be joining a bit later.
Okay, so we'll circle back. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
All right, we'll now move on to the board officer elections. So we'll turn it over to B.
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. At our September meeting, I reported out the names of the nominations for offices of CB6 that was presented by the Elections Committee. That was in accordance with Article 3, Section A and B of our bylaws. I reviewed at September meeting each of the nominations and asked if there was additional nominations from the floor. No additional nominations were added to the list. At today's meeting, we would like to present the names of the nominations for a vote. It was indicated in September that the vote would take place at the October meeting. In addition, Jean and Sean are here. They will help us count the votes and we'll report that at the end. And I have to thank them because I didn't have access to the air tables, so I appreciate them volunteering. You will get a separate ballot for the officers of CB6. And the separate ballot, Brendan, will be put in the chat or where? Okay.
Just put it in the chat.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'm going to go over each of the positions and the nominations, and you need to mark each one of them. So for chair, it's Carla Ty. For first vice chair, it's Mark Thompson. For second vice chair is Sandra Sherrod. For treasurer is Brian Van Nieuwhausen. For assistant treasurer, it's Claudel Winfrey. And for secretary, Matt Bonding. After the votes are counted and at the end of the meeting, I will ask Jeannie and to basically tell us what the votes are, Jeannie and Sean, and that will be the report of the Elections Committee. So please take your time now, fill out the ballots so that the voting can begin. Carl, that ends the election of officers.
All right, thank you so much, B.
I actually have I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, this question's for you, Kyle and B. Just going through some of the procedural duties for the election. Because we have a ballot where there are no two candidates on any of the positions, can we just make a motion to approve all nominations by acclamation rather than using the ballot process? Is that possible? Instead of getting 50 ballots in, can we just go by acclamation?
Well, that would have to be a change of the bylaws because the bylaws require it individually. If, Carl, you do have a bylaw committee, that is something that certainly can be done.
Yes, that is something we'll be discussing our bylaws, modernizing them at our executive committee meetings. But for the purposes of today, since I am also technically a candidate, I don't feel comfortable intervening in that way.
Right,
yeah.
Yeah, and I would call on our dear friend to tell us what the bylaws said, but I did look it up because I also felt the way you did, Jeannie, that, counting all the ballots when we have no contested elections, it could have been done, but I think we should follow the bylaws in case anyone challenges it. Okay, so I asked everyone to please mark their ballots.
All right. Again, the link is in the chat box. Please either click on it or copy and paste that link into your browser. Matt, I see you have a question.
Thank you, Kyle. I'm just curious whether I can vote for myself or should I abstain because it won't let me submit by leaving it blank.
I think you should vote for the best candidate for that position.
Thank you. All right.
Brendan, can you put the chat in the chat the election ballot again, please? Thank you.
Matt, I still see your hand up. If you have another question. Okay, thank you.
No, that was it.
Okay, should we move on with our agenda items, or do we have to wait for ballots to come in?
I would give it, Carl, if you could do a couple of minutes.
Sure.
Just a few more need to come through. About 3 more. B, don't forget to vote.
I am. I'm having issues with my ballot, but it's coming in.
Okay, thank you.
It's funny, it wants to call me Kyle. Kyle, you may have 2 ballots.
Are we in Chicago?
B, did you scroll down?
Yep, I did. It keeps bouncing me back. We're getting there. Okay, just got it. No. I think you'll see 3 names when I select my name, but hopefully they all go off. So my name got it. Okay.
Looks like just 1 more, Lou.
I'm having some trouble getting to the ballot, so I'll have to work this out. I'm sorry.
Just sent you a link to the ballot again.
And B, yes, your ballot did appear 3 times. So while we're waiting for Lou, I will correct that.
Thank you. It didn't like my name.
Right. We don't want to be accused of any voting irregularities.
No, I would never vote 3 times.
We hear enough
Thank
about
you.
that in the media.
Thank you.
Plaguing CB6.
I think
That
we're
would be-
sending in cyber ninjas.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Yeah, Jim, I just don't want you to do it on my ballot.
I was gonna say that would be funny if it wasn't such a dark reality.
Yeah. There's too much behind that, Kyle.
Yeah.
Okay, let the record show that has been corrected. B has now only voted once.
Thank you.
All right, are we almost at a close on this?
I believe all votes are in except the one that we're working with now with Lou.
Jeannie, can Carl move on while you work with Lou?
Sure, I'm not sure if it's Brendan or Jesus is working with Lou.
Well, we were under the impression that Lou just needed the link again, which Brendan provided. If there's additional support that's needed, we weren't aware of that. Lou, can you give us a status update?
All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move ahead with the agenda, and if the board office and B can work with Lou to finalize his voting, and then we can have a report once it is concluded, I'll adjust the agenda to reflect that.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So we've now arrived at our committee reports and resolutions. In order to conduct an efficient meeting, let's observe a few ground rules. Again, no one may speak until granted the floor. Board members, if you have a question or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand through Zoom. Next, the chat function should not be used for board business or questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record by raising your hand through Zoom. Chat should only be used to alert us to any technical difficulties you're having or to state in writing information such as an email address that was already stated aloud on the record during the meeting. Next, when a board member is given the floor to speak, I will identify you. Members of the public, please note that during this session of the meeting, we only entertain questions from members of the board. And last but not least, we are required by New York State law to have a transcript of this meeting, so please keep all questions and comments succinct and germane to the discussion. Tonight, we are again using a digital ballot. The CB6 staff will post a link to the ballot in the chat. Please open this ballot, select your name from the list of board members, and select your vote on each resolution as it is presented. Do not hit submit until later in the meeting after the final resolution has been presented. At the end of the meeting, once you have indicated all of your votes on your ballot, only then should you submit the ballot. You will not be able to submit the ballot unless you vote on every single resolution. If you plan on abstaining, please select abstain. Final vote counts will then be announced after the second roll call, so please stick around for that. If any part of our voting procedure is unclear, please raise your hand through Zoom and we will address your question.
And Kyle, just FYI, all ballots from the officer elections are now in.
Okay, so let's, before we jump into committee reports, we can have B announce the results.
I was actually going to have Jeannie or Jen or Sean, since they could see the ad tables. I cannot. Jeannie, can you do it?
Sure, I can go ahead and do that.
Thank you.
Sure. I'm just giving the numbers, correct, Jesus?
That's correct for each, for each one.
Yes.
Okay. So for chair, Kyle aside, 42, 4, and 6 abstain. Vice chair, Mark Thompson, 47, 4, 1 abstain. Second vice chair, Sandro Sherrod, 45, 4, 3 abstain. Treasurer, Brian Van Nieuwenhoven, 47, 4, 1 abstain. Assistant treasurer, Claude Winfield, 48, 4, 0 abstain. Secretary, Matt Bondi, 48-4, 0 abstain. And nobody for the assistant secretary.
So congratulations to all the officers, and Jeannie and Sean, thank you for your help on this and getting on the air table. So Carl, I'm going to turn it back to you.
All right, thank you, B. First, I want to thank the Elections Committee for their work over the past several months, in particular to the chair of the committee, B. Thank you for running a very well-run process. Thank you so much. And I want to thank the board for showing their faith in me again and for showing faith in their new officers as well. And we look forward to this executive committee working strongly together over the course of the next year. So thank you, everybody, and congratulations again to the other officers elected. All right, so we'll now move on to our committee reports and business. Brendan has posted the link to the digital ballots in the chat. So please click on that link or copy and paste it and put it into your web browser. And we will begin with the Public Safety Committee. Matt, you have the floor.
All right, thanks, Kyle. So no resolutions this month, but a couple of items to talk to you about. So as far as crime goes, we are seeing a district-wide increase in robberies, and the real culprit there is shoplifting, where the security team is engaging with the people, which makes it a robbery. For everyone's safety, I just want to remind everybody, especially those of you that have business connections, to please work with the businesses throughout the community, and please remind everybody, for everyone's safety, it's best to wait for everyone to leave the store before you call the police. You don't want to engage with these people while they're shoplifting and potentially put others at risk for safety. So just want to make that put that out there, because we are seeing an increase across both the precincts throughout the district. It's not just confined to drugstores. It's all kinds of businesses throughout the district. So just a note on that. And our next meeting will be a week from tomorrow. We'll be talking about a few different things. We will be talking about the bill that Councilmember Kalos introduced that would address vehicular noise, or tries to. We'll be discussing that. And then we'll also have a presentation from the Department of Environmental Protection. We'll be talking about flooding as far as from a safety angle. I know there's some other committees that are going to be dealing with flooding and looking at other angles of it, but we'll be hearing from DEP. And this is mainly in response to the heavy rainfall in early September. That we'll be talking to. We've already had similar presentations on coastal flooding from storms. So this is pertaining to heavy rainfall. So we'll be talking about that, and then we'll touch on some of the vaccination concerns as far as enforcement goes. Who's responsible? Are there any issues around that? So lots to cover next Thursday. I'll kick things off promptly at 6:30 if you're interested in any of those subjects. Kyle?
All right, thank you so much, Matt. Are there any questions from the board for Matt on public safety? All right, thank you so much, Matt. We'll now move on to business affairs and licensing. Claire?
Hello, everyone. We had, Gene has his hand up. I don't know if that, and Ann too.
Bundle.
All right.
Okay. We can bundle them unless Ann had a different question.
Ann, do you have a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering about Casamano and that there looks like there's an issue with the community, sort of misusing their space. And so I'm just wondering, like, it doesn't seem like anything in the resolved reflects the board's presumed unhappiness with that. So I'm just kind of wondering, like, how that conversation went and what you like what the
Yeah.
deal is with that.
So in the resolution, it does say that there are like some stipulations that we're continuing to work with them on, including, the sidewalk space, and also just like requesting them to do something that we ask of all businesses, to put, a flyer in their front door with the contact information of a manager on site. And they were willing to work with us. It was only 2 weeks ago, so we haven't really seen much movement on that, but the sidewalk space was the main issue. And they've been, a neighborhood restaurant for close to 20 years. So it didn't feel right to flat out reject them, but there definitely is some work that needs to be done and continued communication with us and the board.
Great, thanks.
Thank you, Anne. We have a question from Sandra. Sandra, are you on mute?
Okay, same thing, Casamano. You put in that there has been community pushback, but at the meeting, the community participants didn't have any comment. I was curious to know how many community members were there, and also how you reached out to the community, which is a question I have in general in these meetings when there are real community issues and people are concerned. How does the community board reach out? So it's a general question and it's specific to this place. And how many people were there from the community at the meeting? And did none of them have an opinion about this?
Good question. Yeah, our meeting agendas are posted online. We don't do any real specific outreach to the community, but they happen monthly, and there's often a wide range of businesses reapplying for these licenses. So, I would encourage you to look at our website and just keep an eye out if there's a business that you want to speak to. I don't know how many members of the public were at the virtual meeting that we had in the past, but there's usually like around 10, maybe a little less.
Okay, that should be part of the minutes. That we should know that. But also,
the minutes for this meeting haven't been
okay.
released.
The other one is there is such an issue about many of these restaurants and their intrusion into the public space, not just this one, that it is something that we need to reach out to community members so that they really have a voice in this at this point. However, the community board does, I just came on, so I don't really know how you reach out in these issues, but it's really affecting our daily lives. So
Claire, I can add to that as well. Also as the former chair of the committee. So we do share, as Claire mentioned, our agendas in multiple spaces. This includes even the Link NYC kiosk on the street to best reach people as best as possible. Part of this too is when evaluating any licenses coming before us, we also take into consideration documented complaints, because there's also no way for us to know if there's an issue unless people from the community are expressing that in written form, either through 311 or directly to the board office itself. So this is all taken into consideration as the committee reviews that. This is true for across committees as well on any topic. So there's also this sense of, if the public feels a certain way about it, they are more than welcome, of course, to come and express this either through the written word themselves, by email, or giving us a call, or by showing up at the meeting themselves. So if they didn't show up at the meeting, there was no way for the committee itself to know that there were any issues aside from 301 and other complaints.
yeah, no, I get that. It's, the communication breakdown happens in many ways. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Jim?
Yeah, I just would reiterate what Ms. Leftoff just said. The Casamono, it's a fine restaurant, great place, but the interior space of that restaurant is fairly tiny. I think there's room for maybe 6 or 8 tables. the exterior space that they have is outrageous, and it certainly cuts into the pedestrian traffic along 17th Street at Irving Place. There are tree planters
We discussed this in the
immediately
meeting,
outside.
Jim.
No, I
and
know.
we're- Mhm. And
Jim,
we're-
yeah, I do want to limit the discussion because this is delving into committee business.
No, that's fine.
That's anyone. Yeah, so the points have been noted. As Claire mentioned, the stipulations are in the resolution as well. So I want to keep it to the issues of the resolutions itself. There was a motion to bundle. Is that being seconded by anyone?
This is Seema, second.
All right. Thank you, Seema. So that is seconded by Seema. All right. Is there a call to question?
Can I just ask who put the original motion to bundle forward?
That was Jean.
Thank you.
Call the question. This is Ronnie.
Who is that?
Ronnie called to
All right, Ronnie
question.
called the question. All right.
Second.
And Claude
seconded by Claude. All right, so we'll now go to our digital ballot. So please click on the link or copy and paste it into your browser and mark your vote for 2A through 2E. And do not hit submit. Not yet. For anyone who's not using the digital ballot, we will ask for your vote verbally during the second roll call. So Claire, do you want to give a committee report while people are voting?
Yes, we also had a presentation on ghost restaurants, which was really informative, and I would encourage anyone who wasn't there to listen in on the live stream. It was the first item on our agenda, and we were going into it thinking about ghost restaurants in general, which, if you're not familiar, it's kind of a restaurant that posts on third-party apps in order to gain business, but doesn't necessarily have a brick and mortar kind of a brick and mortar location or a official storefront. But as part of the presentation, we kind of learned a little bit more, and I think are going to be taking a little bit of a broader take on these third-party apps and their food safety practices. So I'm going to draft something. I think Anne's going to help me with that, and we might have some other member collaboration as well, and we'll bring that to you all next month. But I would encourage you to listen in on the report if you haven't heard that. And that is all for my report.
Thank you, Claire. Are there any questions for the Business Affairs and Licensing Committee from board members? All right, not seeing any. Thank you so much, Claire.
Thank you.
All right, we'll now move on to transportation. Jean, go ahead.
Kyle?
Oh, yep.
Borough President Brewer has.
Thank you. Borough President Brewer.
I can wait, Kyle. I'm fine. I can wait.
You can go. We have a lot of resolutions to go through, so I'd rather do it now.
I'll do it very quickly because I know that time is of the essence. So thank you, first of all. And then we, just in terms of allocating of funding, we figured out the allocations for the capital. I'm sorry, I'm in the car, so I have to keep the mask on. So we have given money to the very famous Bellevue South Park. That's close to 675,000 actually. Security cameras, and then with Carlina Rivera just finishing up some of the projects that needed to get their budget gap closed. And then to Baruch College, as we have over the years, to housing, to the schools, around 725,000 this year for technology in your schools. And then other nonprofits. So, it's all on our website if anybody wants to see it. The second thing I want to mention is that in December, regarding the budget, we will be holding, just so people know for the next borough president, how to deal with applications, because it has to get in early of 2022. Eastside Coastal Resiliency. I think you know more about it than I do. The only aspect that we've done is we sent a letter. I assume you got a copy listing. I'm very supportive. Others are not, I know, but I am supportive because I want resiliency to be real. There are so many issues. I'm aware of them. So this letter outlines some of the concerns that people have had, and hopefully they get addressed. So if you need a copy of it, I'm sure we can put it in the chat, or you can also get it from Brian Lafferty. I want to mention, I know that the Rockefeller Center pedestrianization proposal is in Board 5. But one of the issues, and we're supportive, Councilmember Powers and I are supportive. The one concern that I've heard that I know needs to be addressed are the buses that go across on 49th Street, go into your board. And I think, I must admit, this is not popular because I have received calls, particularly from seniors who use that bus. But I think it could be rerouted a couple of blocks. Now that sounds, you know, understandably, sometimes people, even a couple of blocks is hard to walk. But I suggested that maybe the MTA could have more buses on that route, that might help mitigate the situation. I just want to bring that up because I know it's of concern to people. In terms of events, this is annual open house New York weekend, as I think you know. And on Saturday, we've got the maps. Those are the John Rendell maps, the 1811 Commissioner's Plan. And, you know, if you're interested, people can get, as a result of participation, a copy of their area and what it looked like where their building is in 1811. We're offering that to everybody. We're all working on composting. For some reason, Manhattan is very low on people signing up. So we've been pushing it. The Solid Waste Advisory Board has been pushing it. And I just want people to know that they definitely need to participate. Every Tuesday at 3 o'clock, I think there are some members who participate in our 3 o'clock on Tuesday phone calls, 1 hour, no more. We're following your chair, who was very good on time frames. And at that point, we hear about what the funding is that's coming in from the federal government, vaccines, where the schools are getting their money, how employment is going to work in the future, everything you can imagine. And I think it's very helpful to people. So you're certainly welcome to join us. Along those lines, we have now announced the Community Board Leadership Training Series. Again, it'll be on our website, and we can certainly send it to you. This was started many years ago with Deputy Borough President Alden Bernier, and we're following up. And I think they start at October 20th. We're doing it from 12 to 1, just 1 hour on every single topic imaginable. Obviously, the usual land use and budget, but census, technology, topics that I think is all the history of Manhattan, many topics that I think you'll find very interesting. Everybody's welcome to sign up. You don't have to be a community board member, but we certainly focus on you as your, certainly the representatives of the community. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Borough President. Are there any questions for the Borough President? All right, seeing none, thank you so much, Borough President Brewer. And I know we have Brian on the call as well, so can add his contact information in case there are any specific issues.
Thank you, Kyle.
All right, so moving ahead with the committee business, we'll move on to transportation. Gene?
Yeah, I'm on. Hi.
Hi.
Okay, hoping that we wrap this up in time to see the last game of the World Series out on the West Coast between the Dodgers and Giants, which starts in about an hour. Okay, let's move my part along. First, Rezo is very straightforward. It's a bus company that is taking over these two stops from a bus company that was already using them for years. You'll see in the Rezo that we'd already pre-approved that in 2017. We're approving it again now, or at least not objecting to it. That's all there is. It's two stops, limited use, no problems.
All right, thank you, Gene. Are there any questions on 3A? Larry, go ahead. You're on mute, Larry.
I call the question.
Right, call the question.
I want to thank Larry for writing the Rezo, by the way. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you, Larry.
You're welcome.
All right, so there's been a call to question. So please, oh, who seconded that? I believe that was Ronnie. So everyone, please go to your digital ballot and mark your vote for 3A. Please do not hit submit. And for those of you who are not using the digital ballot, we will ask for your vote verbally during the second roll call. All right. Do you want to move on to 3B?
Sure. This one's a little more complicated. It involves untangling some of the snarls that have cropped up at Washington Irving in the course of the last few years during construction and everything else. What we're trying to do is move the space that they use for various things, access to the building for drop-offs and pickups for not for students, but for various materials, as well as the garbage site. We're trying to move that stuff away from the rest of the block, down to the end of the block on Irving Place, the corner of Irving Place and 16th Street. That's basically what this is about. It was negotiated by Kyle, Carlina Rivera's office, and DOT. This is the solution that seems to be the most workable. And so that's what we've got. And I see questions.
Anne, go ahead.
So I'd really like to give the school these parking spaces. I really want to support them. I think this seems like in some ways a reasonable solution, but my understanding is that it's actually not going to be pick up and drop off of materials. It's really going to be where they're parking the garbage tilt trucks, and they're going to be there 24/7. Which I might vote for if that was what was presented to us. But I'm voting against this because the committee has been given contradictory information about how and when the space will be used and what the exact signage will be. I also have kind of a process issue. No one from the school came to answer questions, and we had quite a few. Nor did we hear directly from any members of the community. And while I certainly wish government would move faster generally, this feels really rushed. The committee chair only heard of the issue 10 days ago. And yet it seems like this is like a really long-standing issue that it kind of could have been anticipated. It doesn't have to be that rushed. So again, I'd really love to help the school, but I'm not sure we're going about this the right way. I have issues with the legality of the signs, but again, we haven't really had time to hash it out. So my vote is against. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Anne. And let me just provide some context to that. So first of all, there is no issue with the legality of the signage. This was an issue that was brought by the community, was also brought up with the school as well. There's an issue on that particular block. If anyone has visited, the construction for the last several years has created a lot of issues. Now that the construction is completed, garbage has continued to remain in front of residences as well as a nursery school. It has been asked by all to have a defined space for such school facilities, school purposes, which can range from anything to garbage collection, garbage disposal, to construction, minor repairs, things of that nature. Right now, it's basically put wherever there is space. So in conversations with the council member's office, which had collected information from the local residences as well as from the school, that this would be the most workable and successful solution to this issue, to have a defined space for the school to conduct their operations. That is what it is. It is a standard signage, it is standard process. And so we're continuing with that. And the reason for the speed on this is because the construction is coming down, that there's no longer enclosures, there's no longer barricades for construction. It is now open space, but the facilities are still operating in the same way. So we need to make sure. I got a email actually just before this meeting where there has been a pile of garbage in front of residences and that nursery school. So that is what we're trying to address with this resolution. Eric, your hand is up.
Sure, thanks. I was just curious when I had read through the resolution quickly that this would be in effect 7 days a week, as I think was just suggested. And I was just curious what the thinking was, why it wouldn't just be when school's in session, you know, anytime you're taking back street parking.
So that was actually
just a question.
Yeah, that was a question I had as well. So this was actually the proposal from Department of Transportation. The reason for that being is that school operations actually take place at least 7 days a week. So they actually, for example, garbage pickup takes place 6 days a week. There are operations that go on the weekend as well and aren't confined to the period of school. So this is a 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., 7 days a week, so that the school has the flexibility to conduct their operations in a consistent manner.
Right, and I guess that was my question, not that the operation wouldn't take place 7 days a week, but is the need and priority there 7 days a week? So, you know, on weekends when there's probably less congestion, whether they could have the flexibility there. And again, that's just my hesitation, is whether they could be flexible outside of the kind of busier rush hours or school days. So I wanted to share that with the council.
Thank you. John, your hand is up.
Yeah, and I think Eric's concern is valid there, but we've lived with this problem on the Education Committee for several years, and I just really want to thank the Transportation Committee and Jean and everyone else who are trying to bring this to a resolution. As anyone who's been involved with this for the last 3 or 4 years knows, this has been an albatross around the neck of a lot of people, and I really want to thank Jean for taking this over and making it what it is, as an issue of garbage pickup. Thank you. And
all right, Stuart, I see your hand up.
Yeah, now I'm confused once again. If the restrictions are only from 7A to 7P, but the tilt trucks are going to be in that location 24/7, why wouldn't the restriction be 24/7?
I'm confused with your question.
The tilt trucks,
yes,
as I understand it, this no parking zone is for, or either no standing zone is where the tilt trucks are going to be sitting. Is that correct?
Correct. If that's how the school chooses to use it, yes.
The tilt trucks are there 24/7. They're not there just from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So I don't understand why the restriction is only 12 hours when the street will be consumed by the school's trash 24/7.
So it's so as you know, the tilt trucks are there regardless of what's going on right now. It just shifts up and down the block based on whatever the availability is. So this is not necessarily a restriction. This is what transportation has described to us as the standard. So this is what was presented to us. This was confirmed even earlier today by the Department of Transportation as the appropriate signage for school purposes. So yeah.
So that means that the school will, for 12 hours every day, the school will be taking over the street without authorization, basically, right?
No. So right now, as it is without this, there are as if you've visited, and I know you live around the area, the push carts are just being put wherever they can be put, which is actually impeding on the bike lane that goes on 16th Street. And so this is a way to mitigate those concerns, is to actually confine it to a defined space for school purposes. Again, a very standard process and signage that allows the school to use that for their facilities.
No, I'm sorry, I'm not making sense then. Those tilt carts are not going to be moving up and down the block. They sit in one place. The school then brings the trash out and drops them in those trucks. They're going to be there 24/7, but the parking restriction is only 12/7. So there's a sort of mismatch in the timing.
So we're getting into like a semantic issue, a technical issue, is that we're not authorizing the tilt trucks, but we are making sure that cars cannot be here. So that will make sure that people aren't using the space that would be used for the tilt trucks. Does that make sense? Because we're getting into the like weeds of like DOT signage.
I won't dig further, but
yeah, but we do have Councilmember Rivera's office. Katie, I don't know if you want to add anything to that to provide further clarity.
Yeah, just a note for informative purposes is that yes, the issue is people take the parking spaces or can take the parking spaces if they're authorized, which reduces the amount of curbside access that the school has, impacting the bike lane. So you're not authorizing the tilt trucks to be there. You're just saying cars can't be so that the space is available.
Okay, thank you, Katie. So are there any other questions on this? Let's see, Sandy?
So in actual fact, this may not solve the problem.
Excuse me?
So this actually may not solve the problem. It just means that a car can't park there. So those tow trucks can't really be there at night. They have to move them somewhere else.
So the problem isn't that there is trash there. The problem is that the trash currently is located in front of residences and a school and a nursery school. What we're asking is to shift that to basically the reason why it's located in front of a school and residences is because there's no defined space on that block that says no standing. So that means cars can park wherever they want. So right now they just leave things there because there's no defined space. It's kind of like if there's a parking space that you want, you leave like cones there, basically. And so basically what they do is they leave that out there. So this is the first part of a multi-step process, which is we need to have defined space that the school can say is for school purposes, where they can put things like trash, or they can use that space for any other school facilities operations. The next part of that conversation is to speak with the school facilities management to work how they would use that space and make sure that they're using that space and not leaving things out in the street. Because as we know, this is a big, big campus, lots of operations going on. They don't have any defined space for school purposes, which again is also the standard language used by DOT. John?
Yeah, I think you said it correctly, Kyle, that this is a multi-step process that several of us have been engaged in for some time, and no doubt we'll have another step.
Mm-hmm. All right. Are there any other questions on 3B, or is there a call to question?
Call to question.
All right. Call to question. Thank you.
Second.
Seconded by John. Right. If everybody can go to their digital ballot and mark their vote for 3B, and please do not hit submit. And for those who are not using the digital ballot, we will ask for your vote verbally during the second roll call. All right, and while people are doing that, Gene, do you want to give a committee report?
Sure. Last Friday, Kyle, Jesus, and I had an interesting background meeting with Ed Pinkar, the Manhattan Commissioner of DOT. Discussion went kind of all over the place. We talked about future projects. We talked about things currently underway. We talked about visioning different things. And it's another step toward sort of cementing the kind of interactive partnership that we've been building over the last year with DOT. Ed is very bullish on the idea of Third Avenue, for example, although he's also said that we're probably not going to hear anything before the end of the year about that, because they're running it through the murder room, as he called it, which is where projects go to get cut up, sliced and diced before they get rehabbed and sent back out into the world. So we're looking forward to talking to him also about some special pilot projects that he raised as a possible thing. So that's all good news. On the committee front itself, we've started discussing pedestrianizing the areas around Grand Central. And we started by looking at Park Avenue and the medians that are in the upper 30s and things to do with those, ways to open them up. They used to be open. People used to be able to go into them. And possibly greening parts of that part of the street as well, but definitely looking to that. I'll be talking to our own Matt Roberts, who's involved in one of the organizations that tends to those medians, and finding out more background information about how and when we could possibly maneuver this through, because they're a resource that we should definitely take advantage of. And next month we'll be looking at the streets in the 40s to try to figure out how we want to do things with them between Lex and 3rd. And that's pretty much it for now.
All right. Thank you, Gene. Are there any other questions for transportation? All right. Seeing none. Thank you so much, Gene. We'll now move on to environment and parks. Kevin.
Thank you, Kyle. At last Tuesday's committee meeting, we addressed plans to start work with Gene and the Transportation Committee on improvement of our drainage systems. Of course, we saw from Tropical Storm Ida a record rainfall and deadly flash flooding. We will be crafting a game plan starting with permeable surfaces and bioswales. I'm looking forward to that. Also at the meeting, we welcomed a new Parks Department District Manager, Sheena Kaufman. In committee, Sheena announced that 3 days later, as Kyle had referenced, the St. Martin Park Lawn and Garden would open to the general public. It did open for the first time in decades. Although Parks had said that this would mark the beginning of a 2-month trial, Sheena reports that it is her intention to make the public access permanent and will keep things on that course unless she is forced to do otherwise. I should point out, Kyle, I do appreciate the kind words about the effort, but for the record, it was a true community-wide effort. It was because of community members that the committee was able to help affect this change. I'll give you an example. Last September, before I was committee chair, a community group assembled amongst itself on Zoom to address the park department's plans for a redesign of St. Martin Park Playground. About 40 community members participated to gather feedback on that plan. After the meeting, participant Erica Rand Silverman presented a group report to the committee titled Overall Playground Redesign Response. This was the report's final and last paragraph. Quote, the community is working and wondering why the redesign is only focusing on the boxed area and not incorporating the entire St. Martin Playground property. For example, there are ways to enlarge the playground by closing off one First Avenue entrance and making that area usable play space, or integrate the Comfort Station garden into usable space for the community, unquote. So we want to thank the community, but not only for teeing up this quest for public use of public lawn and garden, we want to recognize the residents who continue to publicly champion the effort, even when faced with some aggressive pushback from a small number of people who had helped keep the public locked out of the lawn and garden. The community response to the opening has proved especially promising towards a successful and permanent public access. Now, last Friday, on the first day of the garden opening, a local parent shared these 2 photos from the garden that afternoon. The parent reported the 2 boys in the left photo are family friends who immediately found a bug and compared it with the bug book they had. She added that she was a bit sad, though, that her kids are now older and they were denied that access in their younger years. I was happy to spend some time last week with John Ogdenby, the longtime St. Martin Park supervisor. Actually, I'd like to show, if we have it, I'd like to show a photo I took of John. This was taken, if it's coming up, seconds before the garden opening, after John and the maintenance team there mulched, mowed, and transformed the garden space to welcome the public. Alexander, do we have that photo of John? I had just learned that John was among those who had not been welcome in the garden before the public opening. Not welcome because he was not considered a guardian of the green space. Yes, he's the parks supervisor. Very emotional day for him. Finally, moving on to other public space. We're looking at opening up others or trying to help open up others. As many of you are likely aware, the 3,000 square yard public open space plaza at Baruch on 25th Street had a formal opening celebration today. We're happy to note that the plaza includes 180 square yards of plantings and 600 species of plants and no cars. That's our report.
Thank you, Kevin. Again, thank you to you for your leadership and to the committee, and obviously the community leadership as well that we saw from members of the public. And yes, everybody go visit those spaces now that they're open to the public. Go visit them and check them out. Are there any other questions for the Environment and Parks Committee? All right, seeing none. Thank you very much, Kevin.
Welcome.
Next up, we have Housing and Homelessness. Rich?
Yes, I'm going to waive my report because we didn't meet this month, other than to say that we are meeting on Monday. We will be discussing one of the bills that is in the City Council regarding housing discrimination, and I will provide updates on two of the bills that we have been tracking, along with a couple of other things. So look forward to seeing you all on Monday, those of you who are on the committee or interested in these issues.
Awesome. Thank you, Rich. Are there any questions for the Housing and Homelessness Committee? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to Budget and Governmental Affairs.
Okay, this is Rick Eggers. I'll try to keep it, let's get right down to the resolution, which is approving the budget priorities for the fiscal year 2023. That should be fiscal year 2023. That begins in July of 2022. This is the first step in the process. We do this every year. The committees submit to the budget committee their priorities. Each committee submits a list, or we ride with what had happened before. We then, as a committee, will rank order the priorities, integrating them all, and present them to you for approval. This year we are presenting, you have a list of the priorities in rank order. We've also included a blurb that we've put together that explains what's going on with each of the priorities, so you know exactly what we're talking about. There is, in the first part of the resolution, a holdback that gives us the authority to make any small changes that are necessary, generally typos, or I have one example of something that we have to change. Already we have in item 19, 2 sentences were dropped out in the transcription of the new blurb. Fortunately, they don't have any impact on the substance of it. One of them is basically acknowledging that this year we do have money in the budget. Let's see, let me get to that item so I can be more precise about it. We have money in the budget for, where are we here? I'm sorry, I have too many pieces of paper. I'm still in the old school. Okay, it's number 19 is the priority number. 20 was in the previous years. We are talking about senior centers here. We have to acknowledge that there is money this year to have 25 new senior centers. So we have a sentence on that. And the other thing that we added was the ability for that, as they're choosing where to locate these senior centers or programming for the senior centers, that the community board be involved from the beginning in helping to choose those locations. Too often they come back and tell us this is what we've done. We wanted to put it in there, and so we will add that to the blurb. If there are any questions about this particular priority list, I'm happy to answer them, but we do need to present this on an up and down basis. We will not take a vote on each individual priority. We'll only take one vote on the entire list.
Mm-hmm. We have a couple of hands up, Rick. First is Marty.
Call the question.
Brian?
Good job.
Second. All right, that is seconded. B, do you have a question?
No, I was going to call the question. You
Okay,
beat me to it.
perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Thank
All
you.
right. So it's called the question. It was seconded by Brian. So please go to your digital ballot and mark your vote for 6A.
I see Anne has her hand raised.
We're voting.
Yeah, we already called the question. So if there's
Yes,
a,
but I was just gonna second the good job.
oh, thank you. All right, please go to 6A and mark your vote. And once you have marked your vote for 6A, you then can submit your digital ballot. And for those who are not using the digital ballot, we will ask for your vote verbally during the second roll call. And so while people are doing that, I am going to echo what Anne and others have said, which is Rick and Reshma, really wonderful job with these budget priorities and for herding cats. Probably the most difficult part of this. So thank you so much for all of the work you led on this. Really beautiful.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I do want to add, we had in the meeting that we had, we started the conversation on the open meetings law. Reshma, who is the vice chair of the committee, will be leading this discussion going going forward. We want, as many of you know, we got a special waiver for, well, all agencies of the state got a special waiver to use Zoom and have it not be a violation of the open meetings law. And I shouldn't say just Zoom, it's some kind of Zoom-like product where people could participate from a remote location. The new governor came in, I believe it was under the new governor, reinstated that until January 15th. So between now and January 15th, we have an opportunity to weigh in on how we want to see the open meetings law apply going forward and the use of this kind of remote access and still have it be a legitimate meeting. We'll have some conversations about it. It'll be posted. I think most of our meetings between now and January will be involved with, we'll have that as one of its topics at least. So if you're interested, please contact either me or Reshma, who will be, and Reshma is really going to be the primary contact. I do appreciate the work of the committee on the budget stuff and on all the committee chairs for their cooperation. And I do want to say that it is never too early to start paying attention to what your priorities will be for the following year. And I would urge you to keep track during the year of priorities that as they come up, things that might need city money that are not getting the kind of attention you think they should have, we can put in next year. So keep a running total and we will get back to you probably as early as June. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Rick. And thank you for making that point, because I know in some ways it feels like the end of the process, but also in many ways is the beginning of the next one. So, so yes, please take those words to heart. We'll obviously be discussing at executive committee as well with the chairs, but for other members of the board, please do be observing on the ground things that need to be in the budget. So thank you. All right, any further questions or comments for Rick and Reshma on budget and governmental affairs? All right, seeing none, thank you so much, Rick.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, Health and Human Services, Alvi.
Good evening, everyone. We didn't have a good turnout in our first series of Healthy Living webinar last September 29. Our second webinar is on October 27, and the topics are tuberculosis versus COVID-19 and about cancer. So reporting of tuberculosis cases as well as cancer screening has been affected by the pandemic. These topics are very important to know. So I urge our members to join us in this webinar And please support by sharing the flyers to your family, friends, and people you know in our community. Second, I would like to make an announcement. The Department of Health is providing a free TB screening for latent tuberculosis infection this Sunday, October 17, for Filipinos from 9:00 a.m. to 2:00 p.m. at the Foundation of Filipino Artists Center at 77-08A Broadway, Elmhurst, Queens, New York. So please share to any Filipinos that you know. For more information, please refer them to me. Also, we don't have a committee meeting this October, but our next meeting is on November 9. Any question?
I see a hand from Mark.
Yeah, I don't have a question, Elvie. I just wanted to give you a big shout out. One of my neighbors who's been going through some rough times, I think watched part of the mental health webinar and got an address. And as a result of what you did, she's, talking to people, and it's helped her a lot. So thank you. It's just one success is all we need. So good job.
That's great to know. Thank you so much. I hope you can join us again in our next one.
All right, thank you. Are there any other questions or comments or success stories to share with Elvie and Health and Human Services? All right, seeing none. And again, please continue to read the newsletters that the board office sends out for more information on the workshops that Elvie is leading with our local health providers, NYU Langone, really wonderful experts on these very important topics. So please attend and please share with your friends, family, and neighbors. All right, thank you, Elvie. Moving on to Sandy, Land Use and Waterfront.
We did not actually have a meeting this month, but I just want to say it's going to take a team of 3 of us to try and make up for what Adam has done. So we'll have our first group meeting, and welcome back the strategic community planning into our fold again.
Awesome. And thank you again, Sandy, for taking on this role. Appreciate it. All right. Any questions for Land Use and Waterfront and Sandy? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to strategic community planning. Kavitha?
I have a very quick note to just share with all of you guys, and just to say thank you to the committee. The Strategic Planning Committee had their final meeting last week and is working on ways to continue with our stated goals to proactively pursue outstanding objectives set out by the 197A plan adopted back in 2010. And of particular interest is updating goals based on current data and demographics of our district, more discussion to follow, and perhaps in the future, a small task force could take these on. Thank you, Jim, who put together a one-pager, which we're going to share with you, Kyle, if it hasn't been already brought to your attention about this, and you can take a look at that. And also just quickly, we're going to be, we were assigned a community planning fellow who will also be tackling some of this with us in the coming months. And that's all. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Kavitha. Any questions for Kavitha on strategic community planning? I just want to thank you and Walls again for your leadership on strategic community planning and the whole oversight of the MSBI process and the website and everything. Just again, really wonderful work. And again, looking forward to your contributions in a leadership role on land use. All right, seeing no further questions, we'll move on to the next committee report, Youth and Education. John.
Thanks, Kyle. I'll try to keep it as brief as possible. There are 2 parts to my report. The first is an overview of where things stand as of the opening of schools. And the second is our first reach out to an individual school with where we can find the opportunity for some assistance. I will be posting last night I attended a meeting of the Community Education Council for District 2, and Kelly McGuire, the superintendent, gave a lengthy presentation, which is already public, and which I will make sure gets onto our webpage so that everybody can take a look at it. But the superintendent was also kind enough to give me some time on the phone yesterday. And I'd just like to add a few nuances that are not in the presentation, but that might, I think, help people get a sense of what's going on. In general, he feels, despite all of the problems, that we are off to a good start. The really good news, some of the really good news is that 98% of the school staff, teachers and others, is vaccinated, and 100% of principals and assistant principals are now vaccinated. So where the issues have been when there have been exposures, a test of positive in a classroom. And as the protocols initially were in place, that required, a lot of class closures, so that at some point, there could be as many as 100 kids in a school not able to get into a classroom. But that policy was changed in the last week or so by the Department of Education and the mayor, by simply changing some regulations regarding social distancing. And that's already begun to have a good effect on, how many kids can come into the school every day. The only note there is that if the teacher in a classroom tests positive, even though 98% of them are vaccinated, the entire class would have to not meet, for a quarantine period. The other things that I got into with him was that attendance in District 2 across the city has been very good. In fact, I think the average attendance at school has been 87% this year so far. What everyone is awaiting is on October 31st, what the actual enrollment is. In other words, we don't know the denominator of that 87%, and we're trying to get a sense of how many kids have shown up who were not there, have or have not shown up who were in school last year. But right now, there certainly doesn't seem to be any reason for panic in that area. District 2's average attendance has been actually 94%. So that's all very, very strong and positive. And interestingly enough, in those areas where remote learning was greatest last year, so it's particularly down in Chinatown, those are areas where some people have been more reluctant to attend on a regular basis. But the good news is that some of the classes, especially of the Upper East Side and Midtown, they've actually had to cap the class sections and grade levels because the attendance has been so high. So all in all, I think, even though it's a very, as he said, stressful period for everyone, all in all, a very good report. And I will put the detailed presentation on our webpage so you can see more. But that's some of the things I've just said are a little bit of the flavor that he gave to it when I spoke to him yesterday. And Kelly, Superintendent McGuire, is a good friend of CB6 and is very happy to help us. So then the other objective that we've set for our committee has been to get more deeply involved with individual schools. And I'd like to shout out to our vice chair, Neil Barclay, for work that he's recently been doing with PS 116. And we have a very clear request to get a crossing guard at 32nd Street and 3rd Avenue. And that came directly from the vice principal of the school. Just quoting a bit very briefly from his note to us: when the schools closed a year and a half ago, the crossing guard wasn't needed. Now that schools are back, the NYPD has failed to restaff this position. And apparently the corner of 32nd Street and 3rd Avenue, as he puts it, is a doozy and really needs to be monitored and patrolled. There have been many incidences on that corner in the past. So the city has actually installed a turn signal and a turn lane. But even with those in place, there have been some close calls during drop off and pickup. So our committee will be working on a resolution for the full board next month to recommend very strongly to the Department of Education and the city that they put, and the NYPD, that they put a crossing guard at that location. I'll stop there. And so we're going to be doing this regularly, more and more specifically with schools, because I feel very strongly that the role that our community board could be playing is to help specific schools get things that they need. And we even have an update on some budget requests, but I'll save that for another time. Thank you.
All right, thank you, John, and appreciate the work that you're leading in the committee. Are there any questions for John and youth and education? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the business section. I do want to remind everyone, if you haven't submitted your ballot already, please do so now. You were reminded in the chat of that, so please do that. Right, so board members, if you have any old or new business to state, please raise your hand through Zoom. And I see a hand from Gene.
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to take a minute because my brain clearly wasn't working during the report, and I skipped one very important thing. Listening to Kevin reminded me of it, and the borough president. I want to shout out to the Transportation Committee for the final completion of Baruch Plaza. That's a project that this committee was working on for years. I believe Molly Hollister was the chair of the committee when we started working on it. And finally, now, years later, the final actual results are laid down. Sometimes it takes DOT that long, but it is, as Kevin noted, as other people have noted, it's a great addition to the neighborhood. And it all started just because we didn't want a lot of kids getting killed while they ran back and forth across the street trying to get to class. So there you go. Thanks you to the committee who worked hard on this and deserves the credit for it. That's it.
Thank you, Gene. And yes, seconded. Is there any other members with old or new business? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the second roll call.
Hi, everyone. I'll let you know if I don't see your ballot submitted yet. And if you could verbally, again, just verbally let me know you're here, that would be great. Tyler Tide.
Present.
Asia Badi.
Present.
Okay. Neil Barclay.
Present. I am submitting it now.
Okay, great. Thank you. Martin Barrett.
Present.
Elvie Barroso.
Present.
Matt Bondi.
Here.
Claire Brennan.
Present.
Jim Collins. Jim? Not hearing you, Jim. Stuart Desser.
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay. Thanks. Stuart Desser.
Present.
Michael Devereaux. Michael? Not hearing you, Michael. Dan Devine.
Present.
Beatrice Disman.
Present.
Jeannie D'Onofrio. Jeannie D'Onofrio.
Present.
Okay. Rick Eggers.
Here.
Charles Fernandez.
Present.
Eric Goldberg.
Here.
Andrew Gross.
Present.
Adam Hartke. I don't think he's here. Molly Hollister.
Here.
Paige Judge. Paige? Not hearing you, Paige. John Keller.
Present.
Abigail Cruzmark.
Here.
Sandra Leftoff.
Here.
Anton Malner.
Present.
Kavitha Matthew.
Here.
Sandra McKee.
Here.
Wells McGauley.
Present.
Richard Mintz.
Here.
Philip Napolitano. Philip Napolitano.
Check it out yourself.
Okay, not hearing Philip. Roger Schneier.
Present.
Kevin O'Keefe.
Present.
Stephen O.
Present.
Rishma Patel.
Present.
Matt Roberts.
Here.
Matt, you're here, right? I didn't hear
Yeah,
you.
I'm here.
Okay, great. Gene Santoro.
Monoqui.
Larry Sher.
Present.
Ann Seligman.
Here.
Lou Sapersky. Lou? Not hearing Lou. Sean Sherman.
Here.
Sandra Sherrod.
Here.
Letty Simon.
Here.
Susan Steinberg.
Here.
Anju Suresh. Mark Thompson.
Over here.
Corinne Vanderdonk.
Here.
Brian Van Nieuwenhoven.
Present.
Maura Wang.
Maura Wong, present.
Ronnie White.
Present.
Claude Winfield.
Claude L. Winfield is here.
Great. Let me just make sure we've gotten everyone's ballot in, and I believe we do.
Mike Devereaux is present. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Kavitha,
Please, Jesus. I'm sorry, Seema, we do have one double vote from Michael Devereaux. We have 2 ballots submitted.
Yeah, Mike Devereaux is president. I hit submit by accident before I answered the last question. I'm sorry.
So are you in favor or abstain on 3B? Because I see you on the Washington Irving one.
I'm going to abstain on that.
You're abstaining on that? Okay.
Yes,
I will
thank you.
correct that and make sure that the ballot you submitted, which lists you as abstaining, is the ballot that counts for you.
Thank you, Brendan.
And I think I heard, was that you, Philip, letting me know you're here? I think I heard someone else say something.
Yeah, that was Philip Napolitano.
Great, I got you too. Great, I can just go through the ballots now if we're ready. Ballot 2A passes, 48 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstained, 0 not entitled. We bundled so 2A, 2B, 2C, 2D, and so 2A, B, C, and D all pass with the same vote, 48 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstained, 0 not entitled. 2E, it passes, 45 in favor, 3 opposed, 0 abstained, 0 not entitled. 3A passes, 46 in favor, 1 opposed, 0 abstained, 1 not entitled. 3B passes, 41 in favor, 5 opposed, 1 abstained, 1 not entitled. And finally, 6A passes, 48 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstained, 0 not entitled. Thanks, everyone.
All right, thank you, Seema, and thank you everyone for tonight. If there are no objections, we will adjourn the meeting. Seeing no further business, the meeting is adjourned at 9:11 p.m. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
I have solved my computer problem, and I would like to be marked present on the second roll call.
All right, thank you, Lou. Just in the nick of time.